What's up, War Rapport family? We are back with another great edition of Building Rapport. Today, we have a very special guest. Joining us is Auburn women's basketball coach Johnnie Harris. Joins us today. Coach Harris, how's it going?
It's going good.
Well, I want to get today's interview kicked off just talking about the decision to move to Auburn and become the head coach of the women's team. We looked at your resume. You've worked with some really, really high profile programs. When you looked at Auburn, what was attractive about the job and why Auburn?
I just, from the very first conversation with the AD, with the sport administrator, I just felt like Auburn women's basketball was important, and they wanted it. It's has a rich history, and they just wanted to get it back on track. So I just looked at the school. And, it's an amazing school. The fan support is here. We just had to get out and get them interested. I feel like if you put a good product, they'll come. Mm-hmm. I just felt like it was a program that you could build and get back to where Auburn women's basketball has once been.
Now, Coach Harris, in the effort to get us back there, I think you got off to a great start. Top 25 recruiting class in your first full recruiting class. And recruiting really has been a prowess of yours over the years. But what are the things that has helped you to be a really great recruiter in the women's basketball game?
I just think it's being authentic, doing your research, making sure always as an assistant coach, I wanted to make sure I get the players that fit the system. So it didn't have to be, a top 100 kid. It had to be a kid that fit the system. They had to be tough, hard-nosed, physical, and aggressive. We always talk about that, but that's the pedigree that I come from with Vic Schaefer, with Coach Blair, with Kay Yao, that's what you look for. And I really feel like, it doesn't matter. We won a national championship and we had one All-American on our team. So we had a bunch of kids that just played hard. They fit our system. They did, what we needed them to do. And, even the 2 years we played for a championship at Mississippi State, it was kids that fit our system. It was kids that were tough. They were just gritty. They weren't afraid. We used to always tell them if you want, you may not be a McDonald's All-American, but there's one over there. So if you want to go eat, Mm-hmm. And so they took that as a challenge, and they weren't afraid to go up against anybody. So
I like that, Coach. I like that.
To build a program, that's what you have to have. You have to have, because I wasn't going to walk into Auburn and get, probably number one and number two. Now I'm talking to them, I'm recruiting them. Mm-hmm. We get them fine, but if not, I got to get somebody that's not afraid to go up against that.
Mm-hmm. So the message is fit over stars, essentially, or the philosophy is. But when you're sitting in a recruit's living room and like South Carolina is on fire right now, right? And you're trying to recruit against some really, really good programs. What is the message in the recruit's living room to the parents about why Auburn, right? Like, Auburn sells family and they sell atmosphere, and we both went to school at Auburn, so we know. But mm-hmm. What is the message from your coaching staff standpoint to the parents about why Auburn?
And there's winners on both on the court, off the court. Development, making sure that they know they're going to get the best on the court, because I have a great staff around me, making sure that they know they're going to have the best off the court. So when you leave Auburn, you're going to be a professional, and it may be on the court, it may be off the court, but we're going to make sure that you're a professional.
All right, Coach. So growing pains in the first couple of years, talk to me about motivating the athletes through the growing pains of becoming a team and developing a program. Sometimes winning is not instant, right? We know in this business, It takes time to build up to a winner. How do you keep your girls motivated and keep their eyes on the prize, essentially, while you're building that program and with, what are inevitable ups and downs?
I think, part of it is, I have the luxury of having 3 former players on my staff. So they see what it looked like. They understand that it was a process. All of these players played in programs that we had to start from the bottom up. So they understand that if you put in the work, that it may not happen today, as long as you get a little bit better every day.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stay the same, and you can't, get worse. So if you're working, you should be getting a little bit better every day. It will happen for you. We started, at the bottom at Texas A&M. And then I have Demetria Buchanan, who is my recruiting coordinator, played for championships there. We have Katera and Savannah, who were, they were probably, I think Katera was in the 200s rank coming up, but one of the toughest kids, Savannah, they totally changed that Mississippi State program. And by their senior year, they're playing for a national championship. They won an SEC championship. So you're talking about a program who didn't win a game, just like this one, hadn't won a game the year before we got there. So they can see, they hear about that process every day from, the people that we put around them.
Coach Harris, I want to talk a little bit about some of the folks that you brought in this last class. You've had some good success with the freshmen. Can you talk a little bit about some of the freshmen? Carissa Richardson just had a monster game a couple of games ago. She's been a focal point on the interior after coming back from the injury. You've got some really great young guards. The defensive guards on this team are amazing. But just talk about a little bit about that fit with some of these young players. And we'll talk about the older players in a little bit with AC and with Honesty. But let's talk about some of the young kids that you brought in recently.
We can start with Carissa. I just think she's tough. She is that tough, physical, aggressive kid that gets a lot done. We recruited her to play the 4, but we had some injuries, so we ended up. I wanted to move AC to the 3, and I was going to play Carissa at the 4, but things happened, so we were playing AC at the 4, and so Carissa went out and she competed for that 5 position. She saw there was an opportunity there, and she went out and she won it. So I mean, and she's undersized, but she's tough as nails. She's physical, she's aggressive. She has a lot to learn. We're going to really work on expanding her next, in the off season. But right now, she uses her body well. She uses her quickness to get around people. And her best is just yet to come, because if she can be that physical, even if she's playing the 4, that's just going to help us down the road.
Right. Carissa, you're speaking of being tough, right?
Yeah.
You guys went out to Las Vegas to play, and there was a very publicized incident with essentially failure to render medical aid in a timely fashion. Yes. Carissa toughed through that. Talk to us about that experience and what you learned about your player through that. I mean, what a tough thing to go through. I mean, it looked very painful.
It was a tough thing to go through. She fell backwards, and I mean there was a play to where she got kind of knocked down pretty hard, and she fell backwards and hit her neck. So she had something like, I want to say whiplash, concussion, somewhere in there. But she was on the floor, and our trainer, she's really, really good, but she's had to hold her head up for about 45 minutes before medical personnel came. And Carissa, even though she was in pain, she she kept a good attitude. She didn't, there was no whining or anything like that. And I'm just, I'm thinking I'm not happy because we don't have. I wanted to just take her up and get her in my car and take her to the hospital myself, but I know I couldn't do that. And there's really nothing you can do for her except, pray for her and just make sure she's okay. But she was really tough through that. I went to the hospital. I stayed back and flew back with her the next day. And, through all of it, she just, she was just tough. She was grateful just to not be hurt as more than she was. You never heard anything negative from her. She's a good kid, and she's a tough kid.
We're happy she's okay.
Yeah.
Prayed for her a lot after we had saw what happened. So glad to see her back on earth.
Listen, I'm a big fan. I love basketball just in general, but I love Sydney Shaw. I think she's going to be dynamic. But the two that I really love, not to say I don't really love Sydney Shaw, but Maya Pratcher and Caitlin Duan, just defensively, man, I love what they bring to the squad. Can you talk a little bit about those two young women and the intensity they bring to you all defensively?
Yeah, and I do think they are, they use what they got. So Caitlin, while she's still trying to figure it out offensively, and Maya as well, they use their length, they use their quickness to disrupt people. Maya is as athletic as we have on this team. She used her athleticism. Sometimes she go up and get rebounds, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But and right now she's playing some, she's playing some four. She has played some five. I do plan to develop her into that 4-3 spot. It is, it's just, and it's good that they are unselfish enough they just want to play.
Right.
But I think they're at their best when we're pressuring, when we're denying, because they can use their quickness to do that.
For sure.
Coach, you've been in Auburn for a little bit, so you probably know Auburn is all about family. And sometimes off the court chemistry is just as important as on the court chemistry when it comes to building a program and having a team that will play together. Talk to us a little bit about what you guys are doing off the court with these girls. You're closer to them than their parents sometimes for 4 years, right? And they're going to see you every day, and they may see their parents at holidays, right? So talk about that off the court chemistry you guys are developing and what steps you're taking to, form that family bond with this team.
When we first got here, we did a lot of team building things, but we hung out at my house a lot. I love to cook, and they love to eat.
I mean, you love to cook. You love to cook. We're gonna come back to that in a second, but continue.
Yeah.
Okay. But we did a lot of things there. They go over. They have dance offs with my staff. They have karaoke. Now my staff win the karaoke. They win the dancing. But it's really competitive. We do a lot of things there to promote that family atmosphere, and it didn't take them long to click. The other thing we do is I have a sign-in sheet on my door, so they have to come in every day and sign my door. And in doing that, they walk by everybody's office. A lot of them, when we first started, it's like, we got to come up there, and they would come, sign the door, and get out. And I'm like, I asked my secretary, like, why do they come and just run out? Well, normally when they come up here, they're in trouble. So they're not, that's not something that they have been doing. So, but now we have to kick them out because it's like, okay, we got work to do. But I just wanted them to see what it looks like to have, professional women, both young, both veteran in the workplace, how they work, how they do extra. And, we ask them to do extra, to go hard, to do all these things. And I have a staff that model those behaviors up in my office. So I wanted them to come and see it. And in doing so, they get to come in and sit down, plop down on the couch or in a chair and talk. And it's not basketball. It's us seeing them outside of basketball.
Okay, go ahead.
We just made it a point to make sure that they understand that it's more than about basketball for us. It's about transitioning them from being, teenagers to young ladies and making sure that they're ready for the real world.
For sure. So, all right, I got overzealous because you started talking about food, and then that's my inner obesity came out, and so you're an Arkansas girl, right? Okay, you grew up in Arkansas. So what are you pulling out here in the kitchen? You said you like to cook. What kind of cooking is Coach Johnnie Harris doing?
Actually, all kind of cooking. Comfort food. I can do the salmon. I love to grill. Fried. I think one of my favorites is the fried ribs.
Oh, fried ribs.
Fried ribs. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had fried ribs.
Oh wow.
I've been away from the South for too long.
Yeah. But
I said Coach J. Okay, I see how it's going down with y'all over there. Yeah. All right. So let's pivot back and talk about these players. Some of these, the leaders on the team, right? You got AC, and she's out here, being monstrous for you guys consistently. But honesty, right? Like, honesty's your redshirt senior. I feel like, she's probably the kind of like the catalyst for that team offensively. I know, AC is going to get a lot of publicity because of the numbers, but for me, honesty is the one that really makes that team go. Can you talk a little bit about some of the leaders that you have on this squad this year?
So honesty, she just creates so much for different people. She creates opportunity. And I think there's just a calm about her that when she's on the floor, at her best, everybody around her is. So I tell her all the time, our team go as she goes. She creates a lot of opportunities for AC. That's her biggest target. Their passes, I tell honesty, you can only make that pass to AC. Otherwise, it's a bad pass. But they have really, really good chemistry. But also with Sydney, my freshman, I think honesty provide a calm for her as well. And Sydney she's a tough kid. She's figuring it out, but nobody works harder. When she has a tough game as she did last night, you can find her in the gym the next morning at 6 a.m. working on it, if not that night. She's a kid that want to get it right. She came here to help us turn this program around, and she want to do that. Yeah. Sometimes she presses a little much, as freshman does. She's been playing a lot of minutes, and then, it's that time of the year where you have to, you have to be a little bit careful with them because they're not used to playing as many minutes as they are now. And she got thrown into the fire. So, but she's responding really well, and she will do whatever you ask her to do.
Yeah, I think Sydney Shaw is going to be a star. I like her game. I like her confidence. I'm a fan of her game. I like what she brings.
Yeah, and she has the work ethic to go with it. So that's what's gonna, separate her.
Coach Harris, Auburn has a new athletic director. He's come in and he's taking over what are a group of very successful programs in the Olympic sports. So, the support for women's basketball, from gymnastics, for baseball, for softball is huge. Talking to him, have you had a chance to sit down with him yet and talk about your vision for the program and what things you need from a resource standpoint to continue to be on the growth track here at Auburn?
We have talked, and he's let me know whatever I need to, make sure this program is successful. I know he's been busy hiring coaches, taking care of football and those things, but he's been to most of our games. He's been in our practices. And he knew me from Mississippi State. Right. He used to come to our practices all the time. So he has given me his full support, and he's, whatever we need. He really seemed like he's excited about this program and about us building it.
Awesome. In terms of recruiting, right? Like, obviously recruiting the state is very important in recruiting. Yes. And the surrounding states are also important. What has been the focus for you guys in recruiting in terms of going out to get players? Are you recruiting more regionally, or is there a national focus in trying to get some kids outside of the Southeast to come play at Auburn?
It's all over. We just signed what we feel like the best big in Alabama, in Tamaya. I think she has a huge upside. I went to a game not long ago, and she had 18 blocks, just blocks. I mean,
18 blocks.
Yes, wow. She has 18 blocks, and I'm just thinking, she has such a big upside. I can't wait, until that kid get here, and then I signed another big. So we signed 6'4" and 6'5", because that was our immediate need.
Yeah,
and she's a little bit. She's probably. She's a little bit more skilled But again, two tough kids. They're competitors. They play with, both play with really good programs. So I really believe they're going to come in here and make a difference in what we're doing. So what we try to do is take care of Alabama first. You want to get the best in Alabama. And then, you have Atlanta right there. And with women's basketball, there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
So we're on off days, we're always there recruiting. And then, but we're nationally, we're recruiting all over.
Real quick, Coach, is there a standout high school that like in football, there's some schools you just know produce D1 athletes year after year. Is there a favorite place you like to visit because you're going to find a girl who's blocking 18 shots in one game? Or
there are a lot of them, and I probably shouldn't single out one because
okay.
A couple of the other ones might get mad at me, but there are a lot of them. Women's basketball, these they're doing a little bit better job at the grassroots level, and these kids are more physical. They're more skilled. You have kids working out. You have younger kids lifting weights, working out. They're preparing because they want to be at the next level. So they are, you can have more parity because there are a lot more better players, if that makes sense. And they could be anywhere. They can be hidden. There's some that don't even play AAU, and you look around and somebody else in your video and like, whoa, where did this kid come from?
Right.
So it's just about reaching out, having resources, having connections, and I feel like me and my staff have a lot of connections. I've been doing this for a long time, so I have people calling all the time with kids. So we're just wherever we need to be to find them, but they are definitely a lot more, they're more college ready coming out of high school now than they were in the past.
Coach, you have year two, like you're in the midst of it, already more wins this season than you had last season. What do you feel like is the biggest difference in the program year over year? So we talked a little bit at media days, and you were talking about the depth that you lacked last year, and you weren't able to really go to the bench. Is it really just a function of, the intensity we want to play at? We need more depth, or what's the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team, in your opinion?
We have more depth. Last year we had a few more veterans, but this year we have more players that fit the way we want to play.
Right.
And we have depth, so we can play that way. We are young. We've had some injuries. I feel like we probably would have at least 3 more wins in the SEC if
I agree.
If we didn't have the injuries that we've had. But but what that has done is that has given our younger kids an opportunity to grow up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm playing without a true point guard. So that's our focus right now. Right now, we're looking for somebody to come in and help us at that position, right away. So we'll probably have to go either junior college or the portal route to do that for next year, because that's a big need that we have right now. I think that would make a big difference in our program. But I think from last year to this year, the depth, I think the buy-in, these kids knew what we expected. So even the ones that returned, they had an opportunity to leave if they wanted to.
Right.
We sit down with them. We told them what was expected. We told them how we wanted to play. So you have a choice if you want to be here. Last year, they didn't have a choice. This year, they had a choice. And then the kids that we recruited, we're always honest about our style of play, how we want to play, and those things. So these kids came in here to do something special. And like I said, I really believe if we would be right there if we didn't have those injuries early. We started the SEC season without honesty, with AC just coming back. It was her first full day back after being out for 14, 15 days. So just had a string of bad luck, but we used that to get these younger kids some experience, and they went through a stretch where everything was clicking, and we played really well against Florida, who was it, Ole Miss, Kentucky, and Florida. We had a stretch where we played really well, and then I think it was in the Kentucky game, AC got hurt, so then she was out again. We're just getting honesty, and she's still not 100%. She have her days where, it flares up, but she gives us everything she have. So I'm hoping everything clicks and everybody is pretty healthy going into these last few weeks.
Yeah, injuries can definitely kind of derail a plan going into the season. Really quickly about your lineups, right? So in basketball, having players that can be multiple in a sense, or playing positionless basketball has become a new thing over the last 10 years. Do you feel like you have the team to maybe mix it up a little bit if Carissa goes down? You talked about how she competed for that 5. But without her, how different does the lineup look, and how do you feel about the depth being able to, switch things up?
Well, hopefully she don't go down, but yeah. So we can have a lineup where we play small. I have played AC at the 5. You're talking about a nightmare matchup. Now we have to do different schemes on the defensive end because she's a smaller 5. But you're talking about a kid that's tough and knows how to figure it out if she has to guard a 5. Plus, the way we play, if we're pressuring the ball and we're denying and we're help side, she won't be on that island by herself.
Right.
But we also have, our Nigerian coming in. I think once I get her in the off season, I can't wait to get her in the off season. Her biggest challenge right now is the language, knowing what to say. You have to communicate on defense, and knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it, that type thing, knowing what jumping to the ball is, and, not getting your face cut. We're going through teaching her all of that. All that's different for her. So once she have a good postseason, summer, and preseason, you're gonna see a different kid in there.
I like she flashes some good post moves every now and then. I was like, okay, she looked like she might be a player here in a little bit. So I like what I'm seeing from her for sure.
I got to get her to where she jumps, because when she jumps, she's a monster. When she don't jump, she reduces her
play a lot smaller.
So we'll work with, the first thing she's going to do is live in our weight room with our strength coach in the postseason. But then her skill development, I think, will be the biggest thing for her this summer.
Coach, one last question here for you. Just want to talk about, it's a big thing in men's basketball, becoming a big thing in women's basketball, but just the ability to have a program that puts people in professional basketball. Is that something that you can't promise a kid that they're going to go play pro, but is that something that you want to be able to hang your hat on and say, we develop pros here at Auburn University?
Everywhere I've been, we've done that. We've taken kids that, that come in and work hard. We have really, like I said, I have really good coaches around me. I have a coach that coached in the pros. So you're talking about an advantage. And I have kids now that I coach that's playing in the WNBA and overseas. But Coach Fred has coached them. And so I could tell you how to get there. He could tell you how to stay there. Right. So I think you can, that's a resource that, if you have those type players come here, we have proven records with that. So that's definitely where we want to make sure our program is headed.
And even if they don't, I like what you said about making sure that they're the best people they can be, because 99% of these girls will go pro in something other than sports, right? So having that be a focus of your program, I think, is definitely great for a lot of these kids, so that they can get out in the world armed with the tools to be successful. Well, Coach Harris, I want to thank you for joining us today to talk a little bit of women's Auburn basketball. We appreciate you taking some time to talk with us, and we'll be following the program and wishing you much success in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah.
Guys, that's it for another great edition of Building Rapport with Coach Johnnie Harris. If you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Rapport on every social media platform, TW Rapport on TikTok. Guys, we're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.